What is up guys, Speed here, and today I'm going to be bringing you a lot of tips on Skywrath Mage, basically all the knowledge you'll need to play him as a position 4 support so that you can carry your games as this hero, because frankly, you can basically play Skywrath as a mid laner from the position 4 support role as long as you have a general guidance in what you need to do. Now over on the main website, I made a Skywrath Mage guide looking at a crit replay. He's a professional player, position 4 player for Evil Geniuses, where I talk about more in depth what you need to do exactly in terms of farming patterns and what is truly important. In this video, we're going to focus more on the knowledge of the hero, the skill builds, the item builds, the timings, basically everything you need to know in and out on Skywrath Mage. Before we jump into the video, I want to let you guys know that you can check out guides just like this one made by top tier pros over at gameleap.com. We have thousands of guides that can teach you the game of Dota 2 in depth and help you gain MMR much quicker than you usually would. Now let's jump into it. So first off, what you're going to notice with the Skywrath Mage, here we have Zealot of Sammy Boy, is that he goes for Concussive Shot level 1. Now, why is this spell so good? The first thing I want to talk about, it is 100 damage, a 30% slow, and only 80 mana at level 1, meaning that you can use this spell literally off cooldown, and it got buffed from 70 damage to 100. Very significant in the last patch. So, if you're not going to be harassing mid, you want to take Concussive Shot for the laning stage, but if you feel like you can't help your offlaner and you'd rather let them get off to an XP lead if they can sustain the lane, then you should take your Q and harass the enemy mid laner. That's the separation, right? If you need to help lane, take your W. If you want to help mid, take your Q. I would say this is the most reliable way to look at it. In terms of item builds, I do recommend, similar to what we see here, that you have at least 3 tangos. The clarities are unnecessary. In fact, I talked with this Skywrath Mage player and he does not think that they're particularly great either. He does like buying one, but instead what I would recommend is that you focus more on mangoes. But the circlet and the Mantle of Intelligence, as well as any other stat item you're going to buy, is fantastic, and it is more what I would focus on when playing Skywrath Mage. Other item builds you can go, just moving on from this point, is Null Talismans or Crowns. Now, what is the separation between the two? When should you go to Null Talismans, and when should you go into Crowns? So what we determine, and what I think is a very good way to look at it, is if you get First Blood or have a very dominant start, then you should rush to Null Talismans, because these are going to be your highest DPS items, and just stat items in general for the early game. But the thing is, if you never have the chance to use the Courier, and you happen to stay in lane, or you don't have enough gold for the Null Talismans in the early game, and you don't want to delay your Atos timing, you can just buy the Crowns and stick to one Null Talisman. Now, I do think you should basically always buy one Null Talisman due to what these starting items are, right? You're going to have 2 components as is. So, you want to have at least one Null Talisman, and then immediately buy the 2 Crowns afterwards. You notice we're going to skip through this replay a little bit, not to talk too much about the laning stage, because to be frank, this is one of the clowniest games of Dota you will literally ever see in your life. We'll talk about the game a little bit, but honestly, it's just a brawl fest, and Skywrath Mage kind of likes that. But you notice he picks up a stick in the laning stage, which I think is very respectable. If you're laning against any heroes, such as Troll Warlord, who uses a lot of spells, PA, who casts Dagger, Ember Spirit, who uses 3 different spells, then stick is quite good, right? It's going to give you burst mana and HP that you need to trade in the laning stage. But more importantly, you notice he always has clarities. The only problem is you can't really use them too much in the laning stage, so that is why we talked about the mangoes. Moving on from here, you notice he'll instantly pick up another crown once he gets enough gold for it, right? If you ever get your 450 gold, you walk to the side shop and buy the crown. To be frank, all you have to do in the laning stage, as long as you can't get jumped, is spam your spells from the trees. Now, there are no trees in this lane. He's laning with a Beastmaster and a Treant, so all the trees are being cut down. But what I will say is if there are trees, especially if you're playing on Radiant, there are a very nice set of trees that you can play in, then you really want to play in the trees, because your hero has negative armor going into the laning stage. If you have negative armor going into the laning stage, that means you can't trade 1v1 with many supports until you are at least level 3. So play the trees, abuse the fact that you have 600 attack range, and that will get you off to a much better start going into the laning stage. So the next thing I want to point out is that this Skywrath Mage, Dubla we have here, is going to pick up his ultimate at level 6. Now, crit and me personally, we're not too big of fans of this, right? Because it costs 300 mana and you only have around an 800 mana pool with this Null Talisman and Crowns when he takes them out. So basically what happens is that you can't cast too many Qs if you use your ultimate. Now this does give you maximum burst damage, and let's say you need to kill a key target like a Lifestealer or a Juggernaut within a stun duration, then I think it's totally acceptable to take your ult. But the majority of games, especially when you're snowballing, like he kind of is here, he's already level 6 and 3/4, or more like 6.5, and especially for your mana pool, thinks it's much better to simply skip your ultimate and take the silence at level 6. At level 7 then, you're going to take your concussive shot once again, which we'll skip forward a little bit to see. So yep, he has the concussive again at level 7. I think this is the standard build of what you want to have. 2 points in Arcane Bolt, max out a concussive shot at level 7, but instead of your ultimate at level 6, you should take it at level 8, meaning that at level 8 we will see the build 2, 4, 1, 1. This is very solid. It gives you overall utility. It is very nice at this point, at the level 8, to take your ultimate if you haven't taken it already, because you're going to start having at least enough stat items to burst people and your silence to amp the damage quite a bit, meaning you can play more around bursting people rather than chipping and sustaining your Q, right? When you have your silence, you have burst potential, so it makes a lot more sense to have your ultimate. To be frank, I'm going to talk a little bit about fighting. I focus more on that in the crit replay throughout a few engagements. To put it simply, as I don't want to completely leave it out of this video, but you basically want to stay outside of the fights and cast spells from far away as possible. Do not follow your spells, and what I mean by that is a lot of people when playing heroes such as Invoker or Pugna or Zeus is that they follow their spells, meaning if they cast a spell forwards, they kind of run towards the hero. You want to keep your distance, stay as far back as possible, and just really let your spells come off cooldown without going for right clicks in these mid to late game fights. Now, of course, this is more so early game. Within the laning stage, you want to follow up your concussive shot with the slow, but in general, stay on the outside of the fights and guarantee that you can get at least 2 concussive shots off. That's a good standard, I would say, to knowing they are playing the fight correctly. If you can get off 2 Ws, then you're playing things more than correct. So here we see Dubla, or Zealot of Sammy Boy, pick up boots. As we see more fights brawl on. To be frank, this replay is just him fighting for like 15 minutes straight. This is like a 6k average game, but honestly it plays out like like a 2k average game with 6k mechanics. Everyone's just running at each other. But back to my point, he picks up boots. And the thing about Sky is you don't necessarily want to buy boots every single game, purely because you want to get Atos, and that is your damage spike. When you have Atos, I would say your damage goes up by at least double, because you're going to guarantee that you can get multiple rounds of your spells off, but more importantly, the full duration of your Mystic Flare off, and that's what's important. Without Atos, or I guess at least a follow-up stun, you're going to not get the full duration, and often just waste it in the fights. So Atos is your spike. When should you get boots then, you might ask? Well, if they have heroes that are going to chase you down, in this game, I think he would argue the Axe, potentially even the Ember Spirit, the Bat Rider in particular, and the Leshrac, I guess maybe even Treant, they all have a lot of gap close, so the boots make quite a bit more sense, right? If they have no jump or no running you heroes, then you should definitely not buy boots, but if you don't feel comfortable with your positioning, or they have heroes of this nature, do consider boots to make sure that you can keep your distance. Guys, no joke, this game's a mess. Like, honestly, if you think you can't get the 6k, you're closer than you think. Like, it's just people clicking their buttons, really. Like, look at this. What is this? There goes another one. Alone on the Bat Rider to fall. He's chasing him down. Looks like he's going to fight him. He does. But he's going to get turned on. Ow! And then the Ember dies. Like, this isn't even Dota. It's just like Run and Shoot Simulator. I don't even know, but no joke. Skywrath kind of likes this, to be frank. Like, once you hit the 30 XP gain talent, and that's actually one of the main focuses of this video, which I should have mentioned earlier, but the 30 XP gain talent. This hero is so good now, and a reason why you should actually play Skywrath like a farming hero. When you hit level 10, you get the 30 XP gain talent. If he would switch to himself, it would be a lot easier for me to show you. But the thing is, with this 30% XP gain talent, every creep wave you farm, which you should be farming, I recommend you farm at least 6, 7, 8 or 9 creep waves in the game. I know that's kind of a random number, but do farm creep waves is what I mean. Even jungling, like you'll see here, he's even opting to jungle some camps to get to his Atos and abuse the fact that he has a 30 XP gain talent. What this talent allows you to do is scale into a core. It allows you to not only get more points in your skills, which is, I mean, crucial in this hero, really. I mean, some heroes with XP gain talents don't necessarily need some crazy amount of levels to make their heroes effective, a lot of the supports that you see, but Skywrath definitely does to start. But also you have some of the best talents in the game. I mean, 1 Arcane Bolt per cast doubles your DPS with the spell in fights, also it doubles your farming capability in that regard. At level 15, you can also take the Ancient Seal cooldown, which I want to briefly mention. If you feel like you don't need the Arcane Bolt per cast and there's key silence targets, it is okay to take the 8 silence cooldown, as long as at level 20 you also take the 15% Ancient Seal magic resistance reduction. In fact, a lot of players take Global Concussive Shot at level 20, and we personally don't think this is very good. The thing is, 15% resistance reduction is huge. It's like having another Kaya, even better than another Kaya in terms of magic reduction. I really don't understand why this talent isn't that popular compared to Global Concussive Shot, because it is that good. Like, guys, it is that good. It makes it a 60% damage increase. That is crazy. It's that good. Please don't skip this talent. I really think it is very undervalued by the community, especially by Skywrath pickers. So consider taking both the Ancient Seal talent at 15. I do think the Arcane Bolt per cast is better, but do keep it in mind. Don't just completely skip it. And at level 20, really consider putting your point into the 15%. And finally, the reason why 30% XP gain is crazy is you can get 300 gold per minute at level 25, meaning you are the Giga Core. You will always scale. If you are scaling, you have a GPM and an XPM, 2 of the best at that, meaning that you are a Giga Core. Like, you're going to scale if you get levels, and you have a 30% XP gain at level 10. You will get levels. In fact, when you have your Atos, you're going to get a ton of levels, because you're going to solo kill an Ember Spirit. Did you see that XP, guys? Like, honestly, I don't even need to convince you to play this hero. Look at his levels, guys. 13.5. Get some creeps. Look at this. Boom! Level 15? Like, what is this? What is this hero? You're notorious for solo kills, and you get an absurd amount out of them strictly because you have an XP gain talent. Also because the Ember was very farmed and he's just a feeder. But that is so strong. He's level 15. That is tied for second on his team with his support Warlock. I mean, this game's whack, so both of his cores are just trash. And it's higher than the entire enemy team. He has a higher level than the entire enemy team. That is unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. Please consider this hero. You can play it as a core. I'm not going to keep going in this video. I really just want to talk about the knowledge. Now that you have all these tips and tricks on this hero, I'm sorry that I didn't give too much into mechanics. Basically, what I can say is harass from the trees and farm creep waves, as well as spam your spells in the fights. This hero is very straightforward as long as you learn solid laning mechanics. And from there, you get solo kills with your Atos, you get an XP gain talent, you take every single tome of knowledge, and you scale into the late game as another core. Trust me, guys, this is great for solo queue. This will win you MMR if you get good at Skywrath, so please try it out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please do like and subscribe to help our channel grow. Comment down below if you think Skywrath 4 is good, or if I'm completely overhyping it. In fact, tell me if you think it's a good mid laner, because my friend, the one you saw in this video, thinks it's not that good mid. I personally do, so tell me whose side you're on, Dubla or Speed. I mean, it's gotta be Speed, right? But I'd still like to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Thanks for watching.